Hi Gina.
Hi Ione. Hi everyone. I'm Gina, the senior editor of Polyester.
And I'm Ione, the founding editor-in-chief of Polyester, and this is the Polyester Podcast, a feminist pop culture podcast dissecting the discourse on a weekly basis.
Before we start, if you're a fan of this podcast, please make sure to like, rate, subscribe and review. And if you really love us, you can sign up for a podcast membership where you can join our WhatsApp chat, get access to our research each week, and get on our Instagram close friends for only £3 a month. We also now have a Substack called Non-Threatening Boys Asterix, where we will be sharing exclusive content twice a month on the Boy of the Hour. Do we have any reviews, Ione?
We do. 5 stars, cozy, smart, girly, incisive. Love this so much, I think I'd have friends if I lived in the UK. That is by Mikal Gila Health.
That's so sweet.
That's very, very nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. What a treat after not having some
Yeah,
reviews
we're finally
for a
out
while.
of the review drought.
Don't speak too soon. One drop of water is not out of the drought.
Yeah, that was very, what's the word?
Insightful.
No.
Romantic.
No.
Creative.
No.
Beautiful.
No.
What is it?
I don't know.
That's fine. I'm sure someone will tell us.
I think I
anyway.
meant poetic.
Poetic. Famously love poetry. What are we talking about today, Ione?
Today we're talking about the inauguration of Donald Trump and the fashion industry being fucking bootlickers.
Which is a bit on the nose, innit?
More specifically, I would actually argue, is the fashion press. So I feel like if you follow any kind of fashion Twitter accounts or Instagram accounts or like anyone vaguely who likes or posts about fashion, you probably saw something about Melania's hat.
Yeah.
Melania wore a fucking disgusting Hamburglar hat.
Right, you'd be called Hamburglar, yeah.
Have you not?
Is that an original gamble?
No, it's not. It's
Oh,
not.
that's so funny. You should have blagged it was, because I really did just believe you there. It's the Hamburglar hat. It's like hiding her eyes. It's like a wide rim. People are saying like she wore it so that Trump couldn't kiss her and to hide her expression.
They're like, oh my God, slay my queen, Melania. Don't put up for this. Wow, cucking her husband.
Cucking her husband. It made me, the first thing I thought when I saw it, and you can't see half her face, is remember when everyone was saying that she had like lookalikes going round?
Yeah, well, Seaham said she was trying to look for press surrounding these lookalikes and you couldn't see any in America, so maybe this is like how, like there were no American articles, so got me to thinking. No, it didn't. I don't know why I said that.
Me thinks.
But you know how like when it came out that William was cheating on Kate, like Prince William and Princess Kate?
She is.
Yeah, gross though. It wasn't reported on in the British press at all because they had like a
Gag.
gag order on it. Seems
like I was going, gag.
gag.
Gag mama.
So it seems like that is the opposite way with Melania having lookalikes in the US. So if this is the first you're hearing of this, what is it, Gina?
Guess what?
Melania's not real.
Melania is real, but she, for a while in like 2024, at a lot of press appearances or rallies or things that Trump was doing in the public eye, people were doubting whether the Melania he had with him
was the Melania we know and hate.
The Melania that's his wife. Mm-hmm. People were saying that she was getting like lookalikes to stand in her place for these kind of obligations rather than actually going it herself. So the first thing that I thought when I saw the hat, like I said, she's not real. But then loads of like magazines that have otherwise been staunchly like left-leaning, or at least tried to be, or at least not gone alt-right yet, in recent years anyway, have been reporting on it being like, yes, slay, track the gorgeous looks from the inauguration day.
Yeah, so let's go to the hat first. I think the hat is where I began feeling really disturbed. Because it was before we got like the full rundown of looks and designers and all of this stuff, which like notably in 2016 for the 2016 Trump inauguration, fashion was kind of like not really on the agenda, or if anything, it was that designers were saying like literally putting out statements being like, we won't dress Melania Trump. And lots of fashion brands took that stance. And it seems like it's an emerging trend that we're seeing. Obviously, the inauguration had Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg there, like right behind Trump, loud and proud. And then now we're seeing Also at the inauguration was the Arnolds. Is that how you say their name? Or Arnolds? Basically the family that own LVMH. So LVMH are like a conglomerate, which I think we've explained this on the podcast before, but they own like a lot of the big fashion brands. It's like LVMH, Kering are like the two big boys is what I was going to say. Big boys. And then there's like smaller ones. And then obviously there's independent fashion brands as well. They were at the inauguration.
Yeah, the Arnolds, whatever you say. LVMH family was at the inauguration.
Which also makes no fucking sense because they're French. Like, what are you doing there?
Tourism.
Nice day out.
Our day out. Well, what's a nice day out if you're like international people obviously do still get involved in like the US is a superpower, isn't it? So like they want to be seen at these events if they're trying to have like political sway.
Well, it's interesting that now they want to be seen at these events, whereas before they like very much did not want to be seen at these events. But back to the hat. This fucking hat, I don't even know who made it. Do you know who made it?
I'm sure it's in this article in our research somewhere. Let me find out.
Well, in the meantime, I'd like to say, it's obviously really uncanny seeing like titans of industry, lol, cozy up to the Trumps. We've obviously traced the tech billionaires doing this in our Elon Musk episode, and we'll go into it a bit more today. But I think seeing the owners of LVMH, and then even seeing that Oscar de la Renta dressed a lot of them, like Ivanka and Melania, right? Or the new Vance woman.
The Vance family. So JD Vance is the vice president now. Mm-hmm. He's the like millennial one that everyone's been like, cringe bag. And then his wife was wearing Oscar de la Renta pretty much throughout the inauguration, because the inauguration isn't just like the ceremony, there's like a dinner and like a candlelit thing and stuff like that.
And it was noted that like Melania wore about 20 different designers. So she wore a Cape Dior coat, Saint Laurent tuxedo cape over a Dolce & Gabbana white shirt, sequin Caroline Herrera skirt, which at like first glance, she could have paid for all of these things because especially designers, they wouldn't often loan pieces that aren't in a full look. So like it would be weird that she was wearing this Saint Laurent cape over a Dolce white shirt with a Caroline Herrera skirt. Like that is giving she paid for it.
Yeah.
But then, so that on its own, you're a bit like, whatever, it doesn't really mean anything. But then paired with the fact that the CEO of Dior was there, like it's like, I feel like people wrongly try and herald fashion as this like open, inclusive, lovely industry where like, you know, freaks get to be themselves, and like young people spend like their teenage years poring over fashion imagery to then just like get to the big city and find themselves. And it's like, no, these people are fucking fascist scumbags and they literally rule this entire industry, hire like loads of the percentage of people that work in fashion. We have fashion month in a couple of weeks, and I'd be interested to see if that any like influencers, celebrities, anyone take a stance. Like, who's going to be sitting on that Dior front row? Is anyone going to bother to boycott? That like we're slow marching into fascism with this. And the other reason why I think it's, sorry, I know I've been talking loads. Gina, did you want to say something?
No, you go on and then I'll say my bit.
The other thing I wanted to go back to with the hat is that I feel like she knew she'd make a meme out of this, like with that hat. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if Melania Trump is smart or stupid or anything in between. But what I do know is she'll have like a team that has a social strategy that like, she's not just putting on a hat because she thinks it's slay. It's like they will have done like, I wouldn't even be surprised if they did like tests to see how this hat performed and stuff like that. And what really pissed me off is that I was seeing people that I like otherwise respect being like, well, she does know how to wear an outfit. You can't take that away from her that she looks like beautiful in a hat. It's like,
yeah, they can if she's a fucking Nazi. Are you kidding?
Yeah, in it.
Like the people who are like, yeah, but the uniforms, like, what are you on about? Like, the uniforms of the Nazis were slay? What? Yeah, you wouldn't say that.
Yeah, this is how, yeah, exactly. And this is how we, like, co-opt fascism. It's, like, not, like, you don't wake up one day and, like, be a full-blown fascist, you know what I mean? You, like, edge closer and closer and closer to it until you turn around and be like, oh, wait, when did all my ideologies fucking change? And you can trace it back to liking Melania Trump in a hat.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's how these people win. They do something that you find acceptable to enjoy, and then that's how it spirals, because people see that and are like, oh, my beliefs are normalized because even this person has found something to enjoy about this fucking fascist.
And then I also thought it's interesting as well because I saw a lot of the talk that was like praising her or whatever, I assume comes from a like divorce her politics from the woman thing, let's just talk about her clothes from the same people that try to legitimize fashion every other 364 days of the year and say that it's political and say that it's representative of our wider culture and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But somehow, like, we're literally talking about the most important political event in America for the next 4 years thus far. You know, probably something else is going to happen that's even worse. And what then? Are you going to be talking about her fucking BB heels?
Not the little bit brown BB heels. She was wearing 6-inch Louboutins, actually.
It's just disgusting. It, like, actually disgusts me. And, like, also, Kim Kardashian posted Melania.
Well, she's friends with Ivanka, isn't she? Everyone's, like, let that fly under the radar for so long. And then as soon as she posts Melania on her story, people are like, wow, Kim outing herself as a fascist. So I was like, are you blind?
She's been there.
She's been doing that.
Literally. And then I saw another tweet being like, oh, Kim's trying to get back into the good graces because apparently she pissed off Trump because she couldn't get any basketball players to go to the White House. And she was like, maybe this is just like, this sounds like I dreamt it and I might have, honestly. But I think it's true.
But she used to, like, be so open about, like, supporting Hillary and stuff.
No, exactly. And then apparently last term, Trump was like, oh, will you help me get basketball players to the White House, or football players, or both, sports people? I don't know anything about sports. And she was like, yeah. Calls up loads of people and they're all like, no, we're not going to the fucking White House. So then Trump's like, fuck you. And then apparently she tried to call up Trump for some help, like, recently. And he was like, oh, fuck you. Like, no, why would I help you now? Bam. So she's obviously just trying to be like
the prison reform stuff?
I mean, I don't know. It could have been about anything. Like, in the best case scenario, yeah, it's about prison reform. Worst case scenario, it's about literally anything.
Skims is dressing the fucking new militia for Trump's 2025.
Oh, it's not even worth joking about because that would definitely be real.
Yeah, we're at the point now where, like, you can't even make a joke because, sadly, we are all jokes now.
And it's not funny. Not to be mean about your joke.
I'm not laughing.
Okay, no. No, but seriously, like, I'm making a serious point here.
No, I agree with it.
And with that, we're going to a break.
Hello, we are back now.
Hello, we are back. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go with this next, G?
I think what I found most appalling is the, like, stark differences that people are pointing out from when Trump got sworn in 2016 to now. Because, like, we had a Trump administration and then people fought so valiantly to have the Biden administration. And you'd think that Trump being sworn in again would make it so that he would have even more of a reaction. Like, when Biden was sworn in, we had January 6th. So you think that there would be, like, a left-pushing movement. I'm not saying, like, oh, storm the Capitol, guys. See you all there in next week. But I'm saying, like, I expected at least more protested, like, people, like, bowing down, basically. And I found it really interesting in part of the research, an essay that Emily Kirkpatrick wrote for Substack in 2024 called Fashion's Alt-Right Flirtation.
Emily's Substack is called I Heart Mess.
I found it especially interesting in this piece that Emily Kirkpatrick wrote for their Substack I Heart Mess last year. And it's called Fashion's Alt-Right Flirtation. And in it, they point out that when fashion really made a stand in, like, 2016 that I didn't specifically remember, but they were, like, not just saying that they wouldn't dress and as, like, a down low thing, like, if you know that they refused. It was, like, very out in the public domain. WWD did, like, an article where they did a round table with fashion designers, so, like, Diane von Furstenberg, Marc Jacobs and Tom Brown, about whether or not dressing First Lady Melania was a patriotic duty or an endorsement of the administration. And I feel like it's really interesting that brands would say that then, but now people are so, like, the lines are so blurred in politics now where people would be like, well, it's not an endorsement.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, like, and none of those designers involved, because it is probably worth mentioning that obviously Marc Jacobs and Tom Brown are gay men. Diane von Furstenberg is a woman. Like, the designers of... Let me find it. I'm pretty sure Oscar de la Renta has 2 female designers at the helm at the moment. And Dior does. Someone pointed out that, I think it was Diet Prada, lol. So, the Ivanka Trump's gown for the inaugural ball was custom Givenchy. And it was based on an Audrey Hepburn gown, which is, like, fucked for loads of reasons. Gina? You don't remember?
What?
Well, Audrey Hepburn was just, like, an activist, wasn't she? And she was also very anti-Nazi.
Yeah, I saw, like, a really... I agree with that sentiment, but the tweet that someone, like, brought up when the language was absolutely crazy. And they're like, And to think this is a woman who starved to death in like a post-Nazi thing. And I'm like, you can sum up that she was an activist without like talking about it that way.
But then secondarily, at the helm of Givenchy now is Sarah Burton, who is the person that came up, like was Alexander McQueen's second hand.
Is it?
And took over the label when he died. And obviously McQueen is a label that is like meant to be built on like strong, powerful women. Like McQueen has famously said, like, I want the women I dress to look scary and like,
Yeah,
like
not beautiful, but like intimidating.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think that he meant a fascist, like as a working class gay man from East London. Like, how do you build your career with Alexander McQueen on his name? Go to Givenchy and your first major thing is that you're dressing baby fascist?
And also dressing her in a remake.
Well, that's normal. I guess she's trying to do like stunt dressing, like whatever we called it, that I did put on my out list. But back to Emily's point.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to pose the question being like, what does actually a fashion designer owe to, like, how much do they influence the state of the republic? How much does, like, your art, like, should your art be available for everyone? Stuff like that.
Well, 100%. And it's such a... So, tech, cozying up to Trump, I was reading in this research that it's basically because Biden was trying to regulate tech. And then Trump specifically said he wouldn't regulate tech. So now they're all being like bootlickers as well. And I'm sure fashion people are just facing the same thing. And like the problem is we see fashion as we see anything else, like any other art form. And we see it as something that's like led by the heart, not the brain. But these is capitalist. Like all art is led by money. And that's just like the truth of the, you know, obviously there can be like anti-capitalist fashion, anti-capitalist art and anti-capitalist things. But when we're talking about industry, and like the people that are at the very top of this, it's like their politics are going to swing wherever they need it to swing so they can remain like bastions of power and like retain their status as billionaires and like leaders of the world, which is really scary. But I think what's scarier about it is what Emily traces in her Substack, basically how like youth culture has ushered this in. Like it's easy to think that, oh, all the brands are just swaying now because like they're like, oh, we've got another term, like some vibe shift. Like there's a quote in this that's like, oh yeah, it's actually brands following consumer sentiment, not the other way around. So they're seeing that consumers are more openly conservative and following them. I call absolute fucking bullshit. There is no way that's true. Like it's just that thing of like whoever shouts the loudest. Like if you poll people, well, they literally did poll and got the election. But, like, there's no way as many people are swinging as far right as Trump as they're trying to make out. Especially people that buy fucking, like, expensive clothes. Secondarily, and youth culture is what I was getting to. So, basically, this is a quote from the piece. American fashion is currently facing the same identity crisis many hyper-online edgelords found themselves in 8 years ago as the line between ironic versus authentic endorsement continues to blur beyond all recognition. Much like how Pepe the Frog helped make alt-right ideals more palatable to the masses that ushered Trump into office in 2016, fashion brands and celebrities are likewise dabbling in visual motifs of fringe republicanism as a means of outrage, baiting themselves into becoming the internet's main character du jour. But this flirtation with the alt-right for attention raises the question, when does the adoption of conservative aesthetics turn from PR stunt to actual politics? And is it even possible to have one without promoting the other? And I think the answer to this is these things are never just PR stunts. Like, you can start with a tiny little brainworm and it's like a little hatchling of a maggot. And you're like, oh, I'm trying to be edgy, so I'm going to the opposite of what is like cool at the moment to like try and make a statement or whatever. But if you're truly repulsed by those politics, there's no way you'd even adopt them in like an ironic way. That's my opinion.
No, I agree with you. There's this like, people misconstrue irony as being like radical, but like there's nothing ironic about upholding the majority belief. Like you're just trying to be like, it's ironic for me specifically to do it. But your internal workings of justifying something for yourself, your like of something, doesn't mean that you haven't just fallen victim to like the PR of liking that thing.
I saw John Waters quote recently, and I don't know if it's new or old, but it was basically him saying, like, irony has ruined everything. Like, when I was making my first films and, like, all B movies and, like, everything I was inspired by, they were actually just trying to make good films. and now irony makes everyone think that I was like having a laugh with it. It's like, no, I thought I was making the best film I could possibly make. And I agree with that sentiment entirely.
Yeah. As always, John Waters found correct. At the end of the Substack, Emily like really sums up like edgelord material is extremely successful business strategy, I think, like for an attention economy especially. But then Emily says, it remains unclear what exactly is transgressive about promoting regressive ideas. All of these figures above posit the embrace of these conservative signifiers, and in many cases ideals as being an act of dissent and rebellion against the liberal status quo. It's all seen as like an inside joke for the Republicans' expense, but no one's laughing. It's not punk rock. It's unscrupulous, apathetic marketing that believes the proliferation of this rhetoric and imagery has no real life ramifications. And I think that's like one of the main issues of it. People are like, well, I can wear this hat in an ironic way because it's just me wearing it. I can wear like this praying Melania Trump hoodie, and all my followers and my friends will know that I'm doing it as a joke. I don't actually support Trump. But people on the street will see you and be like, oh, my beliefs are normalised.
Also, let me just say, we've been here before and so recently as well. Like, I'm not pretending I'm not old, but so we say that trends exist on a 15 to 20 year type, what's it called? Cycle, right, yeah. And when I was in uni, it was like tail end of NDCs, like very tail end, like 2012 to 2015. And I had a lecture that was all about this, and it was like all about postmodernism and like postmodern means of expression and irony, and it was using American Apparel as an example, and the lecturer was basically saying that American Apparel could get away with the adverts that they could get away with, which were shot by Terry Richardson, known abuser, showing like extremely skinny girls and showing them in compromising positions, like sexually, but then also like even like gross stuff like leaning over a toilet bowl and stuff like that, like not promoting eating disorders, but like, well, yeah, promote like
trying to engage with it.
Yeah, trying to engage with it as like clickbaity before clickbaity things existed. And my lecturer was trying to be all like, oh, but it's fine because it's postmodern, because like the right person will look at that and realize it's ironic and it's speaking to a specific type of consumer because like the people that know. And it's like, but American Apparel has billboards all over the fucking country all the time. Now LA Apparel does, because fucking Don, what's his name, got cancelled for being an abuser. And it's like, what? You're trying to tell me that the payoff of like 200 to, even if it's 200,000, hyper engaged people that can understand those references and go and buy a $50 skirt is worth the like potential exposure of that same amount, if not more, of like young women in this American Apparel context going past it and being like, I want to look like that person, or I want to be shot like that person, or I want to engage in, like, I want to look like how they look. You're telling me that the damage is less than the reward. It's so untrue. It's such a like fallacy. And like, this is where like postmodernism in fashion falls apart. Like, it's not a wink and a nudge to the people that know, like, fashion is mass consumption.
Yeah, I don't think it's even just for worrying about the state of the people who consume it, who are young or marginalised, that don't get the inside joke, but it even validates the feelings of people who generally do believe like that's the way that we should be like presenting women, like they should be commodified. We should be like, MAGA hats are cool and we should be wearing them because I support Trump. Like, people will see young people wearing them on the street and be like, yeah, everyone thinks the way that I think. It's not just that like people are being brainwashed, it's that people are being affirmed by your irony posting.
Yeah, 100%. And we've just gone like further down the rabbit hole with that.
Yeah, it's just getting so like snaky in its own tail. And now it's because we've normalised those signifiers online, it's now become normalised for the press, the fashion press, and for fashion brands in the public mainstream at the inauguration.
To co-sign fascism.
Yeah, to co-sign fascism, because they'll be like, well, this is our art is creating fashion, and like art is like a nebulous thing, and we aren't actually co-signing off, we're like participating in this great American thing. Like, there's so many fucking justifications for interacting with fascists that like the list goes on and on and on and on. But at the end of the day, like, we all need to criticize those that do work with them
and not normalize it in our own like content cycle of brain rot. Like, you might look at like a meme about Melania and be like, ha 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 ha. And like, we were laughing at the beginning of this. And that's true. Like, obviously there's humor in very dark situations, but it's like, don't say she's slaying.
Don't even like laugh at them. Like, haven't we learned like over the years, like with that what's his name? Milo Yiannopoulos and stuff like that. Like, what's her name? Our one, Katie
Hopkins. What's her name?
Katie Hopkins. As soon as you deplatform them, like, they just fuck off somewhere. Like, that's the only response, I think, to these people and these things. And I do genuinely believe, like, the in-between time between the 2016 inauguration and this inauguration, the rise of irony-pilled posting has been, like, a major factor towards this inauguration being, like, so like other inaugurations in a way that it shouldn't be, because we should be mass rioting or mass protesting or mass refusing to work with these people.
And I also, something that I found interesting, because Sihan put like a First Lady fashion timeline, is that, again, when we're looking back at female politicians in particular, because obviously there's fuck all to say about men's fashion choices, ever, unless it's like Billy Porter wearing a dress.
Until it's Elon in a fucking Nazi costume next week and everyone's going to be like, he's just wearing it like, because it's fashionable. He loves Hugo Boss.
Correct. But maybe this is because we're not American, but I feel like the same could also be said for Margaret Thatcher, for example, is that like by only viewing these political women through the lens of fashion, we depoliticize them. Like, this maybe just makes me sound crazy, but like, I would say I know more American First Ladies by like what they look like than their party.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I couldn't tell you what most of the previous First Ladies' like party affiliation was, but I can tell you that like Jackie Kennedy wore a pillbox hat.
Yeah.
And that's quite crazy and like not normal. Maybe just me. But it's the same with Margaret Thatcher, isn't it? Like, they're always like, and her suits, like her skirt revolutionized the skirt suit, like girl power, or even like the Queen. Do you know what I mean?
Like,
it's like
colour blocking dressing.
Theresa May as well, like loving Irregular Choice and Vivienne Westwood. Like, we use fashion as a way to like depoliticize women, when you can't have it two sides of the same coin. Fashion's either political or it's not.
Exactly.
And of course it is.
Exactly.
Any closing thoughts?
The boys are doing it too. The boys, like Zuckerberg and Elon, doing it with their fucking hair plugs and like doing MMA fighting to get ripped and wearing that little like fucking Connell chain from Normal People. The boys are doing it too.
Yeah, I would say like this is where we are seeing like a divergence in history, is that like because of the rise of male-dominated subculture, I guess, like incels and stuff, we are beginning to see more visual cues in terms of clothing from men, but it's definitely not on the same scale.
It's not on the same scale, but it's something to keep an eye on, pals.
And with that, we are finished. We're finished.
We're done. Never see us together in the same room again. If you want to continue this conversation, we will be discussing it on WhatsApp on Monday.
This further radicalised me. I'm like, let's delete Instagram, let's delete Twitter, I'm over it.
Loads of people I know deleted, like, were like, I'm off Instagram now.
Yeah.
Well, if I didn't have a book to promote, that might be.
For fuck's sake. Thank you, Sihan, for the research and the sound teching.
Thank you, Ione, for being my gorgeous host.
Thank you, Olivia, for editing, and thank you, Virginia, for being my gorgeous host.
Thank you for listening, and thank you to our members who support us.
And no one should go to Fashion Week shows that are bad.
Well, yes.
Or buy a Dior, like, little lady bag. What are they called?
The Dior lady bag. Wasn't it called the Lady Dior?
No, that's the perfume, but there's a
No. The bag is called Lady Dior.
Okay, and with that, we're off. Goodbye.
Bye.